So volume. We start with the formula. If you look on your chart, it says, does not say base times height, it says big B times the height. And we need to remember, just like surface area, big B still stands for, what about the base? Area of the base. Okay. If you could do surface area, you can do volume. This is actually significantly easier than surface area. There's a lot less to the formulas. You also don't have to deal with determining, like Alex was asking, if it's lateral or total. There is only one volume, and it's good. But just like surface area, we need to identify the base. Again, on a rectangular prism, it could be any of these rectangles, but usually we go with the top or bottom. And again, I would recommend drawing it out separately so you don't get confused. So our base is a rectangle that's 20 by 7, and we need the area of that. So how do we find area of a rectangle? We just multiply. This is the base times height, so it's 20 times 7, which is 140. So that is big B. Once we get that, we substitute it back into our equation. And then we just multiply by the height of the whole prism, which is 8. How do we know 8 is the height? There's two ways we can determine it. One is it's the distance from one base to the other. The second way, it's the number we haven't used yet. If anyone official asked you, you'd say the distance between the two bases. If you just need to know it for yourself, you could simply say, I haven't used 8 yet. I'm going to make that the height. Okay, so 140 times 8. 1,120. Yeah, because 8 times 4 is 32. And that is inches, what? Cubed. Because volume is in 3 dimensions. So we talked about square inches as being a flat square that was 1 inch by 1 inch, right? When we talk about volume, we're talking about cubic inches. So there are tiny cubes that are 1 by 1 by 1. So how many of these tiny little 1 by 1 by 1 cubes would it take to fill up this entire box? 1,120 of them. Okay? So that is why we refer to volume as the amount of stuff inside the thing. Okay? That's your formal definition. All right, so number 2. Again, we identify the shape. This is a rectangular prism. Why is it not a cube?
Because a cube is the same thing as a rectangular prism. We cannot assume that it's a cube.
There's no assuming about this. Why is this not a cube?
Because there's no cube formula.
And it's also rectangular.
Because one of the sides is 10. If it was a cube, all the sides would be the exact same thing. That's how we know it's not a cube. So this is a rectangular prism. Even if it was a cube, it wouldn't change that much. Our formula is still big B times H. Sweet. I can see that. I'm looking at it. All right. That's good. I hope they start suspending more kids for tardies.
So that's what they're doing now?
I hope so.
That's what they should be doing.
Send them to SL so when the kids think they're all hard, they can go be with kids who are there for legitimate reasons. So you can be like, I don't mess around at Cafe. I got 35 tardies. And then it's like, what'd you do? It's like, I brought a knife to school. And but, well, my tardies were hardcore, man. I'm cool at my school. All right.
Low expectations.
Yeah. So we find our base. We can draw it out separately. So we have 10 by 8. We find the area of that. Hopefully this is pretty easy. This is just 80. So we can substitute big B with 80. The height of the whole prism.
640.
The height of the prism is not 640. It is 8.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
But now if you do 80 times 8, you do get
640
cubic feet. Right? So that's rectangular prisms. Really, I mean, you probably did this in 6th grade, maybe 4th grade.
I did second.
Really, as soon as you learn to multiply 3 numbers, you were finding volume.
Oh,
Because in reality, that's all a rectangular prism is. But now we get to the good stuff. So this is a It's- this is a triangular prism. So our formula does not change. Every prism still base time or area of the base times height.
The base is a
Okay.
triangle, that's why it's a triangular prism.
3-dimensional shapes, the base is not a number, it's a shape. Our base here is
Base.
not equilateral. There's no such thing as an equilateral right triangle. That's not a diss, that's just the truth.
why couldn't the rectangle be a base?
Because they're not parallel to each other, and there's 3 of them. Remember we talked about bases, you either have 1 or 2? I don't know, with the flu? Probably. So here is our base. It is this triangle that's 6 by 6, so we need to identify what is the area of this triangle. If you forgot the formula, you go back to your chart, and it tells you that area of a triangle is 1/2 base times the height. And this is why we do it all separately, because now we have height of the triangle. We also have this height up here, which is the height of the shape, the prism. So if we do this separately, we know I'm just looking at just the base here. Oh, okay. So we fill in our numbers. What is the base of the triangle? 6. What is the height of our triangle? 6. How do we know that? How are base and height always related?
They are always.
Thank you. The base and height on a 2-dimensional shape, because again, we're just talking about a triangle, base and height always meet at a right angle. So we have 1/2 of 6 times 6. So 1/2 of 6 is 3 times 6 is 18. So we have big B is 18.
So that was all just to find.
That was just to find big B.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, I got it.
So that's why we always draw our base out separately. So the first half of this, we don't even look at our volume formula. This is really the hard part. Once you get this, then it just becomes kind of cake. We get the height of our prism is 8. So our volume is just whatever 18 times 8 is.
144.
Is it?
Centimeters, cubic meters.
Okay.
Right.
So 144 cubic centimeters.
Mr. Rose, I'm gonna laugh if you got this wrong.
Okay. So that's triangular prism, same thing as rectangular prisms, except now you have to find the area of a triangle. And so we skip forward, skip forward, skip forward. Ah, here we go. The last shape we have to look at. Number 4 is the same as number 3, just with decimals. Chill out. All right, 26, we have what kind of shape? Cylinder.
Cylindrical can objects.
So we find the formula for volume of that. V is, guess what?
1/3. Volume. 1/3.
It's still just Area of the base times height is not any different. Okay, because remember we said a cylinder is just like a prism except it lacks polygons and vertexes. So volume works the same way. So we identify our base, which are these happy circles here. And since we need to find the area of that circle, do we need radius or diameter? Radius. So if it tells us the diameter is 28, we know our radius of our base is
14.
half of 28, which is 14.
Now, to find the area, it's pi times that square. Why would you
So we go to our formula chart. We see formula for area of a circle is indeed pi r squared. Let's do this two ways. Let's go with the way that was confusing some people on the quiz Friday. Let's leave pi as pi.
What?
It's okay. And then the radius is going to be 14, or 14 squared. Okay? And we're just going to work out everything except for pi. Pi we're just going to let be happy as pi. So we do 14 squared, which gives us 196. Thank you to the people who still have their charts. Always useful. Times pi. So that is the area of our base. 196 times pi. That is the answer. You just let it be itself.
But wait, so the base is 196.
Pi.
How are you going to multiply that?
Pi
Are
is
you
still
going to
3.
leave it by itself?
We're just going to leave it. Stop trying to bully pi. Let pi be itself.
Why can't it be something else?
It could be. And we're going to talk about why we want to leave it like this in like 45 seconds. Now we take the height of our cylinder,
80.
which is 80. That's a nice number. Yeah. That's going to give us a nice big answer. So now we have 196 times 80, but it's a lot like 196 times 8, which really isn't that bad. That's like 1600 minus 32, which is 1568. So I'm going to guess, I'm going to say 1, 5, 6, 80.
1,500. No, 15,680.
Bam!
Well, you used the calculator. You couldn't have beat me at that, man.
No, you just use rounding skills. You say 196 is 4 away from 200, right?
Yeah.
So what's 200 times 8? 1600, right? So you say 1600, but then you need to minus what we added. So we added 4, right? So what's 4 times 8 is 32, and we subtract them and we get 1568. You just tack on. What? I didn't have to write anything down. That was awesome. All right, so there's our, and this is times pi. And this is a totally accurate answer. This is actually the most accurate this answer will ever be, except it should have a unit at the end. So this is meters cubed. Okay. So why do you think this is a better answer than changing pi into a number? It is simpler. That's bonus number 1. What? Because pi is always different. Depending on who needs this answer, your answer is going to change. If we were doing in class, we'd say pi is what? 3. And that would give us an answer, right? If you were in high school and had a calculator, they'd say to make pi be 3.14, which is going to be a different answer, right? If you were a scientist and this was a cylinder that needed to be exactly right to be put into the shuttle somewhere. Yeah, okay, yes. Okay, Cameron, we get the idea. No. You need pi to a very specific amount. So by leaving it as pi, you let the person who needs this number decide how close does my answer need to be.
So like we could do that during a test if it doesn't say make pi a certain number?
Right, so anytime you get an answer where all your answer choices look like, it'll be if your answers look like this, then you leave pi alone, okay? If you see the answers don't say that, if the answers look like 90, 120, and whatever this is times 3, then you change pi into a number. So really it comes down to, do they want pi as 3 or 3.14, or do they just want it as pi?
But so they're not going to tell you whether to put like 3 or 3.14, you just have to like guess?
If it was a test and it didn't give you pi in the answers, assume it's 3.14, because that's the number that's on your formula chart. Number 6? Yes. Number 6, you can put this answer. What?
Also notice that if there's a point at the end of the answers, then you're multiplying by 3.14.
Yeah. Usually your answers are decimals.
Unless you have like the perfect God number, it's not going to be a whole number.
No, you can't multiply anything by pi and really get a whole number, because pi is irrational. Irrational?
It's rational.
It's pretty much rational with an IR in front of it. That's not like,
Rational is with like a
and
ratio.
that's just ratio with a null put on the end and an ear put on the front. So
So I have an ear and then
advocate? Of course I can.
but we're
I just spell advocate then.
Carefully.
Because I got that word wrong.
Well, we're all wrong sometimes.
How did we get to math and spelling?
So now you've had examples of all 3, so let's try 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 by yourself. Good idea. I know it.